podcast. So what will happen is it's streaming at the moment on the Vivid Worldwide YouTube channel live, which will turn into like a video anyone will be able to go off and watch. And then by literally within an hour, we'll get this edited and put into a podcast format, which will hit the Apple Store and also with to be available on Spotify and Android. So literally, I've got you now live streaming in the world, and today's podcast. So today's Espresso Talks by Vivid Worldwide features a good friend of mine, Bob Cruz, who's also a fellow member of Vivid Worldwide. He is a legend when it comes to not only his work he's done in testing. He's the CTO of Checkpoint Technologies, which are, do amazing training. They put the fun in testing. So, I'm going to hand it over to Bob and let him do a bit of an introduction. I've got my wand here and my Harry Potter thing to kind of pass you straight over. So, to Bob.
All right. Hi, Jonathan. Thank you very much. And thank you, everybody. Most importantly, I hope everybody is staying safe and I hope everybody is well. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for that incredible introduction, Jonathan. I'm also the CEO and co-founder of Checkpoint Technologies. So we specialize in testing, quality assurance. We've been around for 17 years. But, the big thing, I'm very excited about being the director of community for Vivid. I've been honored to have been in that position for a little over 2 years. I am also the Vivid leader in the state of Florida. Just absolutely love the message that Vivid has, all about community, collaboration, education, because, like you, Jonathan, I know that we are all together smarter than any one of us. Absolutely. So thank you for that introduction. And one of the things I think we were going to talk about was just during the whole work from home thing, just trying to keep meetings fun, a little bit light. That can be so challenging in stressful times like this. Have you found that out as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is why I loved get the opportunity to interview you, because there's a famous shot, which is what I kind of expected today, where you were running your team, which is a large team, distributed in lots of different states in the US, and you were wearing a dinosaur face to keep things exciting within the video casts, and doing your daily kind of calls, whether it be Slack or Zoom or Skype. Oh, there it is. It's in there. Just how do you keep morale going? You're the CEO. How do you get you've been focusing on keeping things ticking, but making it fun again? So tell us a little bit about that.
So one of the things that my priority has really shifted as CEO and CTO in the past 6 weeks. I have now found that my number one priority is ensuring that the incredible team we have, that they're safe and that we can keep the morale up. Because when morale is up and when people can smile a bit, then they continue to be productive and they go above and beyond what we ask of them, which is just absolutely amazing. So one of the things that we've done is I do several check-ins during the week, one-on-ones with each of my team members, just checking in on them and chatting. Maybe during those calls, make it 50% about them and first and foremost about them, and then also 50% about business. But then we have 2 team meetings a week. And when we have the team meetings, I would say they're about 75%, a little bit of humor. Sometimes we'll have some guest moderators, like, Batman might show up. We'll do things like that. Or I've got Iron Man that may host a meeting once in a while with the dapper hat on. So we do things like that. The other thing that has worked really well is somebody on the team might pick a theme. And when they log in, they'll change their name. The last meeting we had, several of them chose a Star Wars character's name. So again, it keeps it light. We had one meeting where we asked everybody to send in their favorite meme. And then we shared that on the screen and all the memes were about the coronavirus, but in COVID ID and just dealing with it and challenging it, but it made everybody laugh and smile. So those are the things that we try to do. We've started kicking around theme songs.
Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls. That was always my favorite testing song.
Yeah, there you go. We played this just the other day. I had blasting the song "Don't Worry, Be Happy," which you can't listen to that song and not smile. So these are the things we're trying to do, and we're trying to also extend our sincere, heartfelt concern for our customers, our network, our partners. That is so important.
Yeah, it sounds fantastic, and I know the idea of, and I literally had filled in research. I've been doing some analyst work, and the idea of a morale coach is really important. There's a lot of things that people are trying to do to make sure that their staff are all prepared and have got the tools that they need. I had a photo from my sister this morning, and she was trying to wire her new monitors that our office had sent her, and she had this plug, and she said, "I have no idea what this plug where does this go in?" And I said, "Oh, it's a printer lead." She says, "That doesn't look like a printer lead," but it was to the back of it, so she could plug in a USB. And part of it is they're trying to adapt so quickly. Is your team all prepared? I guess they're used to kind of teleworking and remote working to a certain degree.
Yeah, it's and when you mention about teleworking, it's interesting the challenges that we're seeing with so many of our clients is due to COVID-19, where you had a great podcast with Todd DeCapwin, and you talked about performance testing, and outstanding podcast, by the way. You and Todd did a great job. So one of the things we're finding is that a lot of our customers, they are having to redefine their real world expectations in regard to performance. We have a few customers in the restaurant industry. Their online ordering applications are off the roof when it comes to the number of people they have logged in ordering food. We do a lot of work in the healthcare industry, a lot of work for the Department of Veterans Affairs. And they've been doing both performance and functional testing of some applications wrapped around what they call telehealth, because there are a lot more doctors conducting the virtual meetings or patient sessions, if you will. So it's interesting what we're seeing. And I know you're quite busy yourself.
Yeah, so and I'm sure you guys will get involved, because I know you do a lot of work. So Todd was a good example. So we've been working with the team at Splunk for Good, who are working on this MIT project, which we've started doing. So I'm helping the guys at MIT do performance and QA on a SafePaths app, which is a mobile app which helps you track whether or not you cross paths with somebody with coronavirus. And I'm doing a fundraiser this weekend and call for volunteers. And I think it'd be great to get some of your team in there as well to help, because part of what they're looking for is testers, and people who can use the application, share their data, and help with save lives with COVID, which I think is a great thing to do. And I know the big medical authorities over in the States are working really hard. I've been on call with NHS. They're doing something similar with contact tracing as well. They're all very, everyone's trying to help with this pandemic and do their bit. But at the same time, I think what's really important, and kind of what you've been talking about, is keeping the morale up and also supporting people. And we had on the one of the other podcasts that I recorded last week, we had somebody on talking about neurodiversity, and the fact that it's quite hard, when you're working a lot, remotely, that you've got to think about things like mindfulness and, getting people to make sure from a mental illness perspective that they're supported and they don't feel alone. And, that coaching session, which you have one-to-one, sounds like a wonderful idea that could easily be implemented by organizations. So, other tips which you've kind of got. I know I loved the fun, making fun, the webinar fun, and I dressed up as Harry Potter for this, and I've got a special guest of a dinosaur here, which I'm gonna add into my repertoire, and I've got a giant stormtrooper who you can't see because he's just sat behind me, but he could join in the call. I think he's probably gonna try get him saying something in a second.
We're taking you into custody.
But yeah, so these, I think the idea of having some props in the background and making it a bit for fun does sound like a really great idea. And
absolutely. And I love that you mentioned make testing fun, because that's a hashtag that I use quite a bit, because even before all of this, games have always been a pivotal part. I give a lot of keynote speeches on using games to better evaluate potential new hires, as well as to train your team, because games have been used for thousands of years. And one of the things I emphasize, I do it here, not only does it boost morale and bring the team together, but the observers, when you observe those playing the games, you can learn so much about the participants, whether or not they have an aptitude for detail, whether or not they're extroverts or introverts, if they're fast thinkers or slower, more analytical thinkers. These are the types of things you can use it. But right now, as part of a lot of our meetings, we'll do trivia contests and other crazy types of games and whatnot. And that just gets everybody thinking. And it almost helps them, a small degree. You mentioned mindfulness, which I love. You need something to take your mind off of the insanity around us right now. Absolutely.
And like I mentioned at the start, I'm doing a clinic for with the Performance Advisory Council, which are 15 volunteers, including Todd DiCaprio, Wilson Marr, and Scott Moore, who are going to just talk about performance, right, and help people who've got questions. And they've kind of done the idea of having these roundtables or kind of clinics with wine or beer. And I remember my favorite T-shirt, which you did, which is beer is like testing. Are you going to have any of these kind of evenings with testing dojos combined with a glass of wine or a cold beer to make things fun?
We are absolutely going to be starting up our Checkpoint Technologies happy hour soon, where we test beer or maybe even scotch, because I do love scotch, and talk about testing. But yeah, our beer testing, it's amazing how you can find commonalities in testing beer and testing software. One of the things that I say is, if you test either for 8 hours straight, your eyes are going to be blurry. So it's things get fuzzy, but we will be bringing that back. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was my favorite bit of trivia. This was so I used to live in St Albans, which was it had a big cathedral, and the monks used to be there, and they used to test beer, right? And it would be the job of the monks to taste how strong it was, and depending on how drunk they got and how quickly they got drunk, they would give it 1 star, 2 star, or 3 stars, 3 X's. And this is where the Castleman 4X joke came in, because 4X was really drunk and it'd make you completely drunk straight away. But I think that's great that you're doing things like making the synergies between testing and beer and making it a bit more lightheartedness. And I remember going to some of and I know you've done a lot of training and your guys specialize in training, that these things. I remember doing a game with, I don't know who it was, could have been Michael Bolton or whoever it was at the time, where they were doing Lego and they got one person saying the requirements like, I want to build a bridge, and then the other team didn't get to see what they were building but had to kind of best interpret things. So are you going to do things like that as well to make it fun?
We do. I mean, one of the things that we do is, are you familiar with the game Taboo? Mm-hmm. It's so with Taboo, we'll play Taboo, and we'll alternate the words where a lot of times we'll throw testing phrases in there, and then we'll have the list of words they cannot say in order to get them to say perhaps agile testing or DevOps or things like that. So we do a lot of things like that, which really helps. And then the other thing that we've started doing on a few team meetings is we'll have the team meetings during lunchtime, and we'll send each of our team members an Uber Eats coupon. So they can order in food, we can all dine together, break bread together, and have some fun and smile and laugh a bit. It works really well.
That is an absolutely great tip as well. You know, I think that idea of, you know, getting the communal lunch breaks, which people are used to, you know, people look forward to that part of the day because they get to socialize and chat with their colleagues, and, you know, bringing that into it is a fantastic idea. And you know, so I know it's going to be challenging, but I think also some of these digital skills that you're introducing to your team, like you mentioned about like incorporating these kind of digital skills where you're all collaborating on Slack. I know you're a big advocate for Slack, and, you know, your Trello boards, working on documents at the same time, and all that kind of stuff as well. You know, do you find that, you know, people are collaborating better, and these are going to be skills that are going to help, you know, make Checkpoint either more awesome than it already is once we get out the other side?
Absolutely. It's our usage of Slack has skyrocketed even more, because not only are we using it for business, but, you know, when it comes to boosting morale, it's not all me. So it's great because our team members are checking in with other team members, with each other, you know, and just doing things like saying, "Hey, Jonathan, how's it going? You know, are you hanging in there? Is your spouse getting ready to kick you out of the house?" And, you know, different things like that. But Slack just helps a lot. We've been using Zoom, GoToMeeting, you know, just all sorts of different online, but just checking in with each other more. And when it's face to face, you've got that connection. So, which is why we love, you know, Zoom and GoToMeeting so much.
No, that's really good. And I did see Genefa post something quite recently about Zoom Bingo, which had the different words like, "Oh, I can't hear you," or "I think you've not turned your microphone on," and then obviously you try and cut through them. And I know you mentioned that you're running with your team one of those heads up sessions where you put the little game on your head and you say, you know, "Who am I?" Or it could be a famous tester, or, you know, making it really fun.
Exactly. Yeah. It's you do that. And like I said earlier, you get everybody smiling, laughing, ease the weight of what's going on. And then they deliver. They deliver, and they're productive, and it's just been fantastic. It works really well.
Yeah. So do you think this might change? Because I've got a good friend who runs a testing company in Australia, and he was the first person who introduced me to HR. But instead of called HR, they were called people wranglers, right? Which I don't know if it was because they were used to, you know, going out into the the wilderness. But, you know, do you think, you know, things will get to that point where, you know, teams start coming together, and, you know, HR play a massive part on keeping morale up, you know, making sure everybody's okay, making sure they're getting, you know, food and essentials and you know, that kind of stuff, which isn't, you know, always work related.
Yeah, it's, you know, I do believe we're going to continue even when all of this subsides. It's just some of the things we're seeing now and the different things organizations put in place. There are bad things that are happening, but there are good ideas and policies coming out. And I believe you're going to see those continue. And what you just mentioned is absolutely one of them. HR is going to recognize even more so that morale and fun and smiling, a bit of humor is just critical. And it just pays massive dividends when you can do that with your team.
Absolutely. Well, you know, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, Bod. You're a living legend as far as I'm concerned. You know, could you share us a bit of information on how to get best in touch with you, like LinkedIn, you know, your website, you know, anything else that you can share with us?
Absolutely. So my email address is bcrews, BCREWS, at Checkpoint Tech, CheckPointTech.com. 1T in Checkpoint Tech. And then I'm on LinkedIn under the name Bob cruise-checkpoint tech and connect to me there if anybody has any questions or want to brainstorm or share some of your ideas to keep testing fun, make testing fun. I would absolutely love to hear it. And you know what? If anybody has any questions about Vivint, it is an incredible organization. As you well know, Jonathan, we are so proud to have you as the president. You do a phenomenal job. As we all know, we don't think you sleep, but just keep up the great work. Vivint's outstanding. If anyone has any questions about local user groups, special interest groups, contact me.
Absolutely. And you made it possible, what you're doing now with virtual local user groups, because obviously people can't meet at the moment. Changing to that format is great because you're still able to run. I know we had the Dallas one, which was a virtual event. Are you doing one in Florida quite soon?
We are. We're working to schedule that really soon and make sure that that's interesting and fun. And the focus there will be checking in with the members and make sure everybody's doing well.
Excellent. So, well, thanks again, Bob. If you go to the vivint-worldwide.org website, you can go to the board of directors and Bob's details are on there, so you can contact him directly. Make sure you either email him or check out their website because it's absolutely awesome. And, let's make testing fun again. I think literally let's start trying to get that hashtag trending.
Great. Thank you, Jonathan. Have a great day. Stay safe. Stay well.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot, Bob.
All right.
All right. So we are